Have you ever stumbled across a picture and had that weird feeling that you've been here before? Like in a long forgotten memory from your childhood? Well, these pictures are liminal spaces, and some of them feel nostalgic, but some of them are something different. Like you just appeared there with no memory, and you're never really alone in these places. There's always something, and this place is called the Backrooms.
Are you in my walls?
What? I don't know where I am!
I'm right where you left me. The Tower of Memories. A microscope diving deeper into my own consciousness.
Before we even talk about the Backrooms, you need to understand liminal spaces. A liminal space is a place that sits between one destination and another. It's a hallway you walk through on the way to class, a stairwell, an empty mall before it opens, a hotel hallway at 2 in the morning when everything is quiet. These spots are meant to be temporary. You're not supposed to stay in them, you just pass through them. And when these places are empty, something feels off. They look familiar, but also weirdly wrong. There's this strange mix of nostalgia and unease, like you've been here before, but you can't remember when. Your brain knows it as normal architecture, normal lighting, normal layout, but your instincts tell you something is missing. Something about the space feels stuck in time. That mood, the feeling of being suspended between here and there, is what liminal spaces are all about. They're places that sit on the edge of reality and memory, and that exact feeling is the foundation of the Backrooms. The idea of being trapped forever in a place that looks familiar, but isn't meant for you. A place where you're always in between and never arriving anywhere. Now that we know what liminal spaces are, we can start looking into what exactly are the Backrooms. On the surface, people describe it as a creepypasta, a fictional place, a weird internet myth that somehow blew up into one of the biggest horror worlds ever created. But once you peel it back, the Backrooms feel like something bigger, almost like a modern digital urban legend that came out of nowhere and somehow tapped into a fear we all already had, never had the words for. The Backrooms started out with a single image, a yellow empty office with stained carpets, buzzing fluorescent lights, and no windows. Just this endless maze of nothing. No people, no furniture, no exit. And this one picture hit the internet by storm, because even though none of us had been there, we felt like we had. It became a place you fall into by accident, usually described as no clipping out of reality. 1 second you're in the real world, and the next, you landed into this infinite repeating labyrinth that looks familiar but wrong. The Backrooms are basically a nightmare disguised as an empty workplace, if that makes sense. And that's the whole trick. Nothing in the Backrooms is traditionally scary, but the emptiness hits a nerve we don't talk about often. Then people started adding layers, 30 levels, 100 levels, entities, rules, survival guides. The Backrooms turned into a whole universe, and most of it wasn't written by one person. It was built by thousands of people online, piece by piece, like a collective nightmare everybody contribute to. But at its core, the Backrooms represent a specific kind of fear, not monsters, not darkness, but being trapped in a place that feels almost human, but not quite. A place that looks like it was made for people, yet there's no body anywhere. Just silence, yellow walls, and lights that won't stop buzzing. It's the fear of isolation twisted into architecture. The Backrooms aren't scary because of what's inside them, they're scary because of what isn't. And that feeling that I shouldn't be here, but I don't know my way out, is why the Backrooms blew up into what they are today. It's not just a creepypasta, it's a liminal space turned into a prison. It's the internet inventing a place we've all dreamed about, but never admitted. Now that we know what liminal spaces and the Backrooms are, we can talk about the psychological side of them. You see, liminal spaces and the Backrooms aren't scary just because of what they look like, they're scary because of what they do to your mind. Psychologists call this the uncanny, a mix of familiarity and strangeness that makes your brain hesitate. Sure, you may recognize the architecture, the lighting, the flooring, the shapes, but your brain thinks, I've been here before, I know this place, right? But something subtle happens. A corner that shouldn't exist, a detail slightly off, triggers a feeling of deep unease. Your mind wants to categorize it to make sense of it, but it can't. That tug of war between recognition and uncertainty is what gets under your skin. In liminal spaces, your brain expects social cues, such as people, sounds, activity, meaning. Offices that should have desks, malls that should have shoppers, hallways should lead somewhere. When those cues are stripped away, your brain fills in the gaps, imagining a presence that isn't there. That's why empty spaces feel alive in a way, why a flickering light can make your heart race even when you logically know there's nothing to fear. And the backrooms take that one step further. They exploit our need for orientation, for narrative, for closure. Humans are pattern seekers. We navigate the world by logic and memory. But in the backrooms, the patterns never end. The loops feel infinite, and the memories don't quite match reality. You might feel like you're somewhere familiar, but something is off. That tension, knowing a place is familiar yet undeniably wrong. And this is called cognitive dissonance. It produces anxiety, unease, and a strange fascination all at once. And that's why the backrooms hit harder than normal horror. Traditional horror has a structure, a threat, a villain, and a way to survive. There's a beginning, a climax, and an end. But the backrooms are infinite. They strip away narrative, external threats, and resolution. It's just endless. Your mind recognizes the world should make sense, right? But it doesn't. And it makes the fear eternal, existential, and impossible to outrun. Architects, designers, and psychologists have long known that spaces without clear clues, such as no windows, repetitive patterns, and no visible exits, triggers disorientation, stress, and unease. And the backrooms take that instinct and amplify it and stretch it to infinity. They are the ultimate liminal space. Isolation, emptiness, and uncertainty turn into architecture. They don't just scare you, they mirror the part of your mind that notices wrongness before you even have words for it. You see, the backrooms aren't just a story, they're a psychological reflection. They visualize the way we react to emptiness, repetition, and subtle distortion. They capture the creeping anxiety of being trapped somewhere familiar but warped into something unrecognizable. And it's reality bending just enough to make you doubt your own senses. And that's why they stick with you long after you looked away from the screen. So why did the backrooms hit such a nerve? Think about it. Humans are wired to notice patterns. Our brains are built to read a room, to predict what's coming next, to feel safe in familiar spaces. But when something is slightly off, when a hallway looks too long, a carpet is too stained, a light hums just a bit too loud, our instincts scream something is wrong here. Liminal spaces exploit that instinct perfectly. They're familiar, but the clues we rely on to feel safe are missing, and the backrooms take that feeling and stretch it to infinity. Sure, there might be some monsters, some ghosts, or whatever in some levels, but the fear doesn't come from that. It comes from what isn't there. The silence, the endless repetition, the sameness that stretches forever. Every corner looks identical to the last, and it reminds you that this world is wrong. It shouldn't exist, and yet it does. You should be able to navigate it, to find a door, to reach an exit, but there's nothing. Only walls that feel alive in their emptiness. And it gets under your skin because it mirrors something we all know, even if we don't realize it. That tiny moment of existential wrongness, when a place feels out of time, like it exists in a memory that isn't yours. That sudden panic when a familiar space feels alien, when a memory seems just slightly displaced. Maybe it's an empty office late at night, maybe it's a hallway in your school. That sense of wrongness, the creeping realization that something is deeply off, is something every human has felt. The backrooms simply take that subconscious fear, that tiny twinge of unease we push aside every day, and make it tangible. They give it walls, lights, ceiling, and a buzzing hum. They give it a space you can't escape, and in doing so, they hit a nerve deeper than any traditional horror ever could. Because it's not about monsters most of the time, it's about you, your instincts, your memory, and your mind realizing that sometimes the scariest thing isn't what's in the shadows, it's the endless emptiness that shouldn't exist. At its core, the backrooms isn't just about horror in the traditional sense. Sure, there's some jump scares, there's some monsters, at least not in the way you expect it, because the true horror lies in the mind and the subtle anxiety that creeps in when the world around you feels almost right, but not quite. It's isolation, disorientation, and the uncanny, that strange feeling when reality is off and you can't explain why. You see, the backrooms are a digital age representation of universal fears. The fear of being lost, of being unseen, of being trapped in a place that shouldn't exist, or worse, that does exist and you can't escape. You see, every hallway, every light, every empty corner reflects a fragment of those anxieties. They take what your brain instinctively notices: emptiness, repetition, silence, and stretch it to infinity. And there's something almost poetic about that. The backrooms aren't just scary, I mean they are, but they're reflective. They mirror a part of the human consciousness we rarely examine. The fear isn't immediate or loud, it's slow, creeping, existential. It's the realization that something about your surroundings, and perhaps even your life, is fundamentally wrong. That tension, that unresolved unease, is what makes the backrooms so compelling. Every story, every new level, every tiny addition to the lore taps into that same core fear. It's why the backrooms have endured a cultural phenomenon. They are more than an internet myth. They are a collective meditation on isolation, memory, and the spaces between reality and perception. In the end, they remind us that sometimes the scariest place isn't somewhere out there, it's somewhere in our own minds. So, the backrooms aren't just another horror story. I mean, they can be, but in my opinion, they're a mirror of the spaces in our minds, the place we can't quite explain, the feelings we can't shake off, and maybe that's why they stick with us, because somewhere deep down, we all know what it feels like to be lost, to be alone, and to wonder if we'll ever find our way out.